Cool. So, welcome to tonight's seminar. We're going to be we're going to be stepping through a very abbreviated version of one of the assignments that is part of the 4Geeks curriculum. We're going to be building a personal portfolio. So you have some expectation some expectation of what we're going to be building tonight. This is a version that I completed earlier this week. It just links a whole bunch of projects that you've done, and has some fancy buttons that actually moves us around the page. So, if you want to follow along, you can use the template repository, which you can find here, and I'll also be linking some code snippets that we'll be using throughout this. Cool. To follow along, what you need to do is if you're logged into GitHub, you'll have a use this template button in the top right corner. You can create a new repository. It'll bring you to this screen. You'll want to set yourself as the owner, and then give yourself a repository name, and then click the create repository button. For my purposes, I'm just going to be opening this in a code space. And we get to sit here for a hot second while it spins up a virtual machine somewhere out there in the internet. Let me just move this here. Cool. Also, let me get my notes all the way over here. If we have enough time at the end of this, I'll step you guys through how to set up actually hosting this website on something like Versal. So you can actually build this or build something similar to this and then have it available on the internet for anybody to see. So cool. Okay, let's get everything finished setting up. If this is a good size for you guys, if you guys can read this, I'll leave it here. Otherwise, I'll just zoom it in a little bit more, like that. And also, if anything, like if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, and so on and so forth. Okay, so first step, I just need to spin up the dev server on this so that I can actually see what I'm doing. The command for that is npm run dev, and then I'm going to hop over here into ports and then just preview this in the editor. This project was spun up using a framework called Vite. Vite just makes allows you to make React apps really in a really straightforward manner. I did do a couple of things to this. In this template, I added everything we need for Bootstrap, because we're going to be building this with Bootstrap and React. And I also added this one little script here that lets the oh, I have a duplicate copy of color theme here. But all it does is it makes it so that the website respects your system preference for color. So if you're in dark mode, you'll get this dark screen. If you're in light mode, you'll get a light screen. Cool. So there aren't a huge amount of moving parts for this. The quick rundown is we need a nav bar that allows us to actually navigate around our application. And we're going to need some repeatable component that that displays our projects. So before we actually get thinking or get writing that component, we need to think what are the various bits and pieces of a project? What do we want to put on our portfolio to display this project? The rundown that I came up with is we want our project to have 1 second. I'm just going to delete all of this placeholder code and put something there. And yeah, I'm aware that just having the word const is not valid code, but I'm going to be using useRef for this. Because our projects aren't going to update in real time. So I just need a way to store. Actually, I don't even need to use useRef here. We'll be using useRef later, but let's just use an empty array to hold our list of projects. But yeah, each project is going to have a title. So something like super awesome portfolio project. Just like a laconic description of what your project is. There's going to be a description of your project. This is the longer one. And it'll be some longer description of your project. We'll want some sort of image for our project. This should be HTTPS. And I'm just going to use PlaceKitten for my images for this demo. And I don't know. Let's use PlaceKitten 750 for this. And then we're going to need two more things, because when you're building a portfolio, if you have a live version of the project, you'll want a link to that, but you'll also want to show employers that, like, to let employers actually look at what you've built and look at the nuts and bolts of it. You'll want a link to the repo. So we'll have a URL to HTTPS again. We'll have a link to the actual project, and we'll have a link to the repository. Slash. And these are going to be broken links for me because at the moment, because I could have actually planned this ahead, or planned what projects I was going to use ahead of time. But I didn't really think about that before then. So we've kind of got the shape of a portfolio project, which means we can get to actually like messing around with laying out what this portfolio project is going to look like. Now, I briefly mentioned that we're using Bootstrap for this. And that we need a couple of things. We need some sort of nav bar. So we'll actually hop over here and let's grab an example nav bar. Honestly, this one has all the various elements that we want. So we'll start off with this one, and then we'll tweak it to what we need. Okay. We also absolutely need a We need a div to hold all of that. And quickly, div ID root. Okay. We need to write some CSS already. So I'm just going to hop into index.css. And this is probably going to be a bit hacky, but we want viewport width. We want 0 padding. And we want a minimum height of, I'm going to use dvh here. That's a unit that is viewport height minus like any Chrome from your browser. It matters more on mobile in this case. But all we did here with this this little bit of CSS is we made the application fill up your entire screen. So let's hop back over here. And quickly, let's add prettier because code formatting is happening automatically. Let's use prettier. Awesome. Cool. So we've got our nav bar. And then we've kind of got our first candidate for making a component. And let's actually no, okay. Oh, it's up here. There we go. Okay, I just wanted to make it so that we weren't collapsing quite yet on this preview because I wanted to actually see the various bits. Cool. So we've got this repeatable component here. Because, you know, we'll want to have multiple portfolio items. Generally, we'll want to have like 3 to 4 portfolio items. So, and we don't want to have to like manually code these buttons. So let's start by getting rid of this and let's make a brandy new component. This is going to be we'll make a portfolio item.jsx file and we will write a brandy new component. So a component in React is a function that takes, it can take some arbitrary properties or props in it, which are going to be deconstructed with, or destructured so that we don't have to type props, stuff, whatever. But they're basically arguments to this function. And we can use those props to pass information into our portfolio button in this case. So we're taking a prop called title here, and we're passing it into the contents of this. And then we will export portfolio button from our component. And now we can portfolio button here with a title of some awesome project. And we've just turned that, let's make this one another awesome project and the most awesome project. And there, we've turned this piece of HTML into something that's repeatable, that we can keep on using. Also, it's worth noting that I've already diverged a little bit from my planned way that I was setting this up, but that's okay. And then we can do some fun stuff here so that we don't have to manually type out these. We can do projects.map here. Map is a function that takes an array, or a function on arrays or a method on arrays that takes a function. So it takes something that you want to do to these items in your array. So we'll take our item and our index of that item. And then we will turn it into a portfolio item where the title is item.title and the key is our index. And then we'll break this out onto multiple lines so it's a bit easier to read. And now what we can do is we can, we probably only want 3 for this this demo. But yeah, we can take our objects that we defined for our portfolio, and we can turn it into actual elements on the page. Cool. And just for this, let's also make it so that when we get around to making the portfolio cards, we'll also have our images be different. And then let's make this one slightly different as well. Let's make this one not actually be hosted. It'll have a URL to the repo, but it won't be hosted. So, yeah. Cool. So that is a good chunk of the navbar done, but we're going to have to revisit it in a little bit. Once we actually build out the functionality, because right now these buttons don't do anything. So cool. Our next step is honestly, let's figure out what we want our portfolio items to look like on the page. I did the portfolio items in my initial demonstration as just divs that I did some cool layout stuff with. But let's actually make use of some of the stuff in Bootstrap, and let's make them be cards. Because Bootstrap supports horizontal card layouts. And we can... we are going to have to fix a little bit of this. But yeah, honestly, this looks good. It's got space for our title. It's got space for our elevator pitch. It's got space where we can put the buttons. But we'll have to mess around with them a little bit. And then it's got a built-in image, and it looks pretty nice. So again, we're going to copy and paste from Bootstrap. Bootstrap has a lot of these things that are really good places to start, and then you can go and you can tweak them how you see fit. So, um, we're going to hop back over to the portfolio item.jsx file, and we're going to make a const portfolio card. This is going to be another function. It's going to return this HTML, which honestly I'm going to wrap in some parentheses. And then I'm going to go and fix that error that we're getting. The Bootstrap documentation never uses this this style of closing tags or of closing. Oh, there's a fancy name for these tags that I learned like a month ago, and now I can't remember what they're called. But yeah, these tags that can't have anything in them, like image tags. And React requires this closing slash. Otherwise, it gets really confused. And again, we're going to take a prop. And let's call this prop portfolio item. So this portfolio item is going to represent one object from this array. So it's going to have a title property, it's going to have a description property, it's going to have an image, a URL, and a repo, as I highlight those in the exact wrong order. But yeah, so we've already got a place for our image. So this will be portfolio item.image. We've already got a nice built-in place for our title. We need the closing squiggly brace there. We've got a fancy place for the description already. Might help if I spell that correctly. And then here we're going to want our buttons. But we don't want them to be small. And we probably want this to be... We probably don't want this to be a p tag or a paragraph tag. But let's see what happens. btn button.btn dash primary. Now this one, let's make this one secondary. And we'll do that. Cool. Now we don't have we can't actually see what's happening yet because we haven't really we haven't put this on the page. So let's start out with exporting this so that we have access to it here. We will import it in this file. And then we can hop down here and we can make a div.container. We're going to want a padding top of 5 on this because we want the otherwise when we do some when we make the navbar sticky later, when we make the navbar sticky, it takes it out of the normal flow for the document. But yeah, we're going to need that padding down the line. We want to make use of the flex utilities. And it's going to be a column. This is a way to make it so that the children of this element decide what they decide their placement. And we'll give it a gap of 3 between the items. Cool. So we've got our div, and we can do our projects.map again. So we'll have our item and its index. And then we will make it a portfolio card where the, what did I call that prop? Let's just make this, let's make this prop item. That is going to make it a lot easier to type. Okay, so our item will be the item that we are on in the array, and its key will be the index of the item in the array. And again, so we don't have to scroll horizontally nearly as much, let's break this out onto multiple lines. And we've got our first bug. So time to go and look at the console. Okay, this is another thing that's because we're copying and pasting from the Bootstrap website. This style tag here is formatted differently than React expects it to be. So we need to hop over here. And what we need is we're going to just redo this a little bit. So we're going to turn that string into a dictionary, or sorry, not dictionary, an object that has the max width property. And our layout has actually swapped to a vertical layout because we're below a certain size. But if we look here, you can see that our cards are nice and, you know, the right size. Yeah, sort of. There's a lot of space here, and I was expecting those images to stretch all the way, like they show here. So there's something going on with this image, but I don't know exactly what off the top of my head. Honestly, let's okay, that's interesting. The card class is giving it two rem of style, or two rem of, I know what's happening here. So if we hop over to this index.css, we've got some, is it that, or is it app.css? App.css. This is why we've got that that padding. Honestly, let's just get rid of this and see how much that breaks the website. It surprisingly doesn't. Cool. Awesome. So we're going to change this. Actually, we're going to make max width a prop so that we can actually just set it here. And then we're going to wrap this in parentheses. So I can do this. If anybody asks, no, I'm not padding out my files to be really, really long in the number of lines. At least not intentionally. Cool. So let's give us a max width of, I don't know, let's try 100%. And let's see how that looks here. Honestly, looks pretty good. Cool. So all we need to do here is we need to fix these buttons, and then we can start actually building out functionality. We can make so that the buttons actually link to where they're supposed to, and then we can start making it so that the nav bar does what we want it to, and brings us to the project on the page. So let's hop back over to portfolio item. We've already got this item. I'm going to change these from buttons to A tags. But because I've already given them the BTN primary, you can see that they actually didn't change how they render. One of the fun things about Bootstrap, and I'm going to put some serious quotation marks about fun, is you can apply the button classes to anything. So like you can button your cards. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend buttoning your cards, but you can. Cool. So we need to make it so that these links take you to the actual project. We do that with the href property. So the href is going to be, on this one, is going to be item.url. And then the href on this one will be our item.repo. And then we're going to have to do some fancy stuff because we don't want this opening. Oh, that's not description. That should be repo. We want it so that our A tags open in different I can word in a different window. So we want this target property and we want this rel property, which I'm coincidentally copying from that. And all that does is it just lets our links open in a new window. Cool. I mentioned that not every project is going to have a URL. So let's handle that case. We can check to see if there's a URL. And if there is, we'll do that. And if there isn't, we'll just not render it. So we can see down here that now we don't have a see it in action button on this third repo. So what I did here was I wrote what's called a ternary operator. It's just a very fancy way to say if this first thing is true. So we're asking a question, does item.url exist? If it does, or if item.url is truthy, we'll do this. We'll do all of this. Otherwise, we will just put an empty string there. We could absolutely do the same thing here with this one, except we'd be having it be item.repo. And you might have something where actually you probably do want something where let's say you did some work for a company where the code is not something you can publicly share, but you can link to the project. So yeah. And honestly, let's make it so that this one doesn't have a repo, just so that we can see what that looks like. So we can see it in action here, but we can't see the code. Cool. And then this project, we have both of these. We should probably change this from a button at some or from a paragraph tag to just a div. And we'll do the deflex flex row gap 3, and then I'm going to justify content center, and we get to see if I remember which. Hey, I got it right the first try. There are like 20 CSS classes like this in Bootstrap, and I never get the right one on the first try, except when I'm presenting in front of a ton of people, evidently. So, another one of them is like start, and honestly, start might look better because these cards are aligned left anyways. So, yeah. And honestly, the real question is, what happens when I get rid of this card text class? Absolutely nothing. Cool. So we don't need it. Let's get rid of it. If we check over here, you can see that, all of this is honestly looking pretty good. We probably want to make it so that, like, having it all, like, aligned this way is honestly a little, like, I kind of want it to be balanced. I want to have it, like, alternate between image on the left and image on the right. So let's handle that after we actually do some functionality in this button, because honestly, that's going to be one of the harder things. We're going to need to pass in a ref, and actually, sorry, we're going to have to pass in a ref differently. Okay, so basically at this point, if we want to have these buttons scroll to these various bits or these various projects, in React, we're going to have to do some funky things. Not super funky, but mildly funky. First thing we should do is let's actually make it so that this button takes us back to the top, because that one is real easy. We just make an on-click event. And this on-click event is going to, let me hop over to my notes. Is going to do window.scroll. We're going to window.scroll to 0, 0. So, but if we want to be able to click that button when we're not at 0, 0, then we're going to have to do some stuff. So, that is solved by one class, which is fixed top. And you'll notice that that everything moved up on the page, but now our button moves us to the top, which is nice. But we absolutely need some additional space on the top. And putting padding top of 5 there is just not enough. So let's do a style here. And we'll do, like, I don't know. Let's start off with 7.5 rem. That looks good. It looks a bit wide on this screen, but we can't be perfect in an hour. Cool. So we've got the button. The next thing is we need these buttons to scroll us to the various elements. And that part was why I was really glad that I walked through this project on or earlier this week on Tuesday, and made sure I kind of knew what I was doing. Because we're going to have to use something that I very rarely use. And let's grab this. I have to use forward ref from React. So what this does is this allows us to take a reference to basically, we're going to build a reference to an element, but you can't easily pass in that reference to a React component. You need to do some funky stuff. I'm going to change a little bit here, and we're going to have an error for a hot second. Let's Control X here. We're going to forward ref, and then we are going to we are going to take a ref here. Did I do that right? 1 second. It is forward ref do open paren. Go ahead.
Shane, Jason has a message for you.
Oh. If you have a lot of projects and you want to thumbnail them as cards you have built, you could do an infinity scroll. I have very strong opinions about carousels. Carousels, from a user experience standpoint, are not very friendly, and from an SEO standpoint, something like 98% of all the clicks that go onto a carousel go onto the first element of the carousel. So yeah, they're just they're very hard to get working, and or they're not very hard to get working, but they're annoying, and then people just don't like interact with anything other than the first one. I also do tend to prefer like relatively static layouts. I have considered turning on prefers reduced motion in my browser, because a lot of places or a lot of websites are yeah. Okay. So infinite scrolling is not, it doesn't have the same user experience stuff that a carousel has, especially if you set it up so that you can whenever you scroll past a page break on your infinite scroll, you have the URL in the browser update so that you can get back to that easily. That honestly, that clears up most of the UX issues with infinite scrolling. Parallax I kind of like. But if it's parallax with a lot of motion, that can actually make some people motion sick, which is part of why the prefers reduced motion browser option exists, and why you can select prefers reduced motion with CSS. So, yeah. Quickly, what's my error? Requires a render function, but was given an object. Okay. I have a typo somewhere. Let's see. Okay, so function projects, data ref. Is there anything after that That closes there. 1 second. Forward ref takes a function that returns this for function project. First argument for project. Man, this is aggressively nested. Let's minimize this. It returns our HTML. And that, is that the closing? Yeah, that's closing tag there. And that's the, that closes there, that closes there. Honestly, I'm going to try turning it off and turning it on again. Hey! Turning it off and turning it on again worked. Cool. Okay. So we're not doing anything with this ref argument to the forward ref function. So all we're going to do is ref is equal to the object ref. And that allows us to get into actually doing some stuff here. Because I kind of skipped over one thing we need in our project object. I was trying to find a good way to handle this, but I never really, I didn't find a dynamic way to assign these refs that didn't involve installing some third-party stuff, and I didn't want to, do that. I wanted to make it so that you guys could do this without having to do too much additional work. So we're just going to make a property in these objects called ref, and we're going to pass, and that will be useRef, and we'll default that to null. It's not the best way to do it, but it keeps the reference for the object in the, or it keeps the reference to the project elements here in the project. Cool. Let's surround this in parentheses so that I can break this out onto multiple lines. So that one day I can say that I'm maintaining another 40,000 line project. And we're going to pass in a ref to this object, which will be item.ref. Cool. Let's quickly hop over here because I've got... I think React DevTools updated. Page is using the development build of React. Yeah. But why don't I have my React DevTools? 1 second. I want my React DevTools. There we go. React DevTools is great, by the way. You can find it on react.dev. But yeah, so let's actually update our project thing over here. I'm going to wrap this in a useRef. So it's refs on refs. And then I'm going to update this. Yes, .current. Current. There we go. Cool. That's just so that, we can actually see this over here. So, yeah. React DevTools lets us actually look at some of the internals of this. So we've got these 3 buttons that don't have anything past to them to link them to the project yet. But we have our ref here, which is our project's ref. and it shows us the information about each of these. What it's not showing you is that this actually is referring to this element, but that's honestly kind of one of the downsides. But we need our buttons to actually do something. So we're going to pass in a non-click element or a non-click event. And on-click events are way easier to pass in than refs, so we just do this. No, not on can play, on click. We run our on-click event. Cool. Now, we don't have our on-click event, but that'll be pretty straightforward. Let's write a function. We'll write a handle click function. It's going to take an item, and it is going to I have to find my code for that because I structured it differently here. That was an app.jsx. Okay. Man, I found it and then I scrolled away. Okay. So it's going to take our item, and we're going to look at the ref for the item, and then we're going to look at the current value of the ref, and then we're going to scroll into view. And we're going to do this without any code completion there because we don't know what that does, or the node doesn't know what we're doing with that yet. It's unfortunate, but alas. And then we're going to handle our on-click event here. And that will be handle click, and we'll pass in our item. Cool. Now it's not working. And let's figure out why. Cannot read properties of null. Reading scroll into view. Okay. So that might be because I packaged this in a ref, which means we need to get rid of these currents here. Let's just try refreshing the page. Hey. Function refs. Check the render method of app. Yeah. I absolutely did sort that error out. Did I not save this? I'm forward ref. The portfolio card. Ah, you know what happened? I put the ref on the wrong thing. That's so much better. So what happened there, I'm going to Control Z a little bit, and then I'm going to move this. So instead of putting the ref on the card, or instead of referencing the card on the page, what I did was I accidentally put the ref on the button. Yeah, so we've got a project that will scroll our projects into view. It would probably look, or it would look a bit better if each of these projects took up a page or were taller. But you know, it's fine how it is. And honestly, we are running up against the time limit, so yeah. Let's sort this, or let's wrap this up, and I'll show you how you can deploy this on something like Vercel quickly. It should deploy really nice on Vercel. there's nothing especially fancy about this. I am going to remove a line for the first time, possibly in my life. Yeah. Is there anything in the last minute that I want? I would have liked to make so that these buttons highlight whichever one you clicked, but we don't really have time for that, unfortunately. Cool. So, the way that we're going to be deploying this versal is first, let's save our changes. First of all, I should absolutely fork this project. Back to my own account, so it's going to be a little weird. Oh, I don't know. I already have a fork. Okay, cool. I'm going to have to do some magic here. I need to hop over here, and I'm going to make a brand new branch that I'm going to be pushing to. I was working off of main, so this is going to be seminar February 22nd, 2024. That's just the name of the branch. Okay. And now we get to get remote. Welcome to me quickly flailing as I struggle to remember how Git works. On something that I did not plan. Okay, so git remote add upstream. Yes, I want you to I need to save that. I need to go to github.com and I need to grab that URL. Okay. Cool. So I need to commit my changes quickly. -m demo portfolio done. Okay, and then git push set upstream, and then paste this. One second. Let's just... Okay. Okay. Cool. I'm going to copy and paste this git command. And I get a 403. That is really unfortunate. I should have planned this ahead of time, but that's okay. We can we can try Origin seminar. Origin does not appear to be a Git repository. I have absolutely just gotten myself into a exciting position here, because what I need to do is create a new repository, use the owner, 4Geeks Academy, seminar Feb 22-24. It is a public repo. Oh boy. Let's see, git remote add origin. Let's see if I have the rights to push here. I don't have the rights to push here. Okay, we're not going to be pushing this exact portfolio to Versal. We're going to use a pre-built one. So we are going to be running the one that I showed you earlier. The very slightly different one. But that's okay. It will be the same process. So really all we're going to do here is we're going to log into Versal, and we're going to make a new project. I've already I've already signed up for Versal, and it knows about my GitHub account, so you can actually see that this project is already here. It already recognizes that it's Vite, and we're just going to import that project, and then click the deploy button. And while it is finding its brain, I'm going to hop over here, and we're going to do some copying and pasting. Because honestly, I like this one a lot. So we're going to paste that there. We didn't do anything with app.css. We did do things with index.css. And then we're going to go here, new file, that's portfolio item.jsx. And then we want this. And just like that, we're actually back to this point. So I can git add dot, git commit -m, demo portfolio done. Dome, yes. I'm going to branch seminar-feb 22. Git checkout seminar-feb 22. And I'm going to do git push --set upstream origin seminar-feb 22. And cool. Awesome. Man, that was way more exciting than it had any right to be. Cool. It's found its brain, but it deployed the main branch, so I need to do. It will by default. It will deploy your main branch, so I need to actually go to settings here, and there is and git. Production branch is going to be seminar February 22. I'm going to save that. It's going to redeploy it. But it already deployed that branch for me. But yeah, now we can go visit this online. This project exists online. Honestly, like building a portfolio project it can be a very straightforward thing if you don't do what I do and let yourself get really really caught up in making things about 5 times as complicated as you need to. Let's hop over to deployments and create a new deployment though. And we will do that. And it's going to find its brain for a hot second. But yeah, we're only 10 minutes over, so at this point, let's open it up for more questions when I can catch all of them. Hey, look, a new deployment is available. It's the same thing. Anybody have any questions? Because I definitely sped through some things, and I definitely didn't stop to explain about half the things I was doing. So I'm totally down for questions. I'm sure you guys have plenty. Hmm? Okay. Well,
I guess I don't have a question, but I do have a comment that I noticed. And
hmm
sorry, I didn't raise my hand or anything. I just started
yeah, it's
talking.
okay.
Um, uh, so I noticed that some things you were doing, like class name instead of class, is that gonna cause an issue down the road or
It's not going to, but that's a really good catch.
okay?
Um, so React, because JSX files they're just JavaScript files, and class is a reserved keyword in JavaScript. So React prefers that you use class name, but that's a really easy fix. So if you just like highlight class equals and then do Control F to find, you can just replace all of those with class name equals. And then I'll do the same thing here. And that will actually just fix all of those warnings. But yeah, that's a really good catch. That's something that is I got caught because I was copying straight from Bootstrap. So you'll notice,
Yeah,
yeah,
that happens
yeah.
for sure. And then another question: do you think some things will have been easier by using like flocks and like having a store where you can like like store your project's information basically,
um,
or do you think that will have complicated the whole thing? Because I mean, it's a little
I
bit complicated.
I think that's probably over engineering this kind of project. But if I were to do something like that, I would probably use something like Zoostand for a project of this size. Zoostand is another application state management piece of software, but it works very similarly to another one for Vue that's called Pinia. And it basically you write these little pieces of application state. They're atomic, so you only need to load the state that's important for the page you're on. Um, and yeah, it's very super simple. So like if you were like pulling stuff from a third party API, you could use something like Zoostand or something like React Redux. And if you want a link to Zoostand, here it is.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
And okay, I do see that they have like some information in how to use it. Okay, perfect. Okay,
Yeah,
because I was gonna
their
ask.
documentation's not spectacular, but it's better than some.
I understand. Good, good.
Yeah.
And I do see
Yeah.
some differences there, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So actually, one of the other projects that was probably flashed by the screen because it was on my Versal account was this project over here. This project is built in Vue and it uses Pinia for the store. And it's honestly probably just barely complicated enough to require applications. Actually, it's definitely complicated enough to require application state management. But um, yeah, this was built in Vue using Pinia as its application state management. Um, and is another like just a super simple single page app. Yeah.
That looks
You,
complicated. Can you send that to me, please? I love complicated stuff.
oh boy, there's going to be some exciting code here. There is in the so this is a tool to try to make it to try to solve or to try to like automate solving a little problem. um, in a video game, but the algorithm that I had for solving it includes not just one while loop, but two while loops. So yeah, it's a little bit exciting. And honestly, not entirely my best work. Actually, definitely not my best work, but it was a lot of fun, and I was doing it as a hobbyist project. So
That, yeah, that sounds good.
yeah,
Good sounds good
yeah,
enough for me to take a look and try to butcher
yeah,
it by duplicating it. Hey,
yeah.
because you know,
And hey, if you can come up with a better way, because the idea is you need to get a certain value to, or certain set of values to fit into a like to fit within a target mass while maintaining an even number of trips through the thing that has the target mass, or through the wormhole. Um, because I'm incredibly nerdy, and that's for internet spaceships. So if you find or if you can figure out a better way to write that algorithm, I will 100% take a pull request on that.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have that much faith in me, but
Yeah.
you know, I actually
Yeah.
do have a question going back to the project that we were working on. I'm so sorry. I
Yeah.
don't think I fully got the grasp of what byte is. So, like,
Um,
what was it again for?
so Vite
Oh,
is
bit. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's completely okay. They um so Vite is a something that allows you to spin up projects. It's a way to spin up a template project really nicely. So like if we hop over to getting started here, you can start up vanilla JavaScript projects, Vue projects, React projects, Svelte. Honestly, I don't even know what lit, solid, or quick are, but they're obviously full stack things. It just lets you create a template project. So
It's kind of
if
like a
I
boilerplate type of thing. You will compare.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Um, so if like I hop over here and I open this in the terminal, I can do npm create vdet latest, and then test project. And yeah, I want to install that. And let's start up a Vue project using just JavaScript, and then I can just cd into the test project. Let's just open up VS Code there, which for some reason opened on the far right monitor. But yeah, it spun up a project for me. Now I can npm install. And yeah, a lot of fun. I use that word fun very weirdly, but and then I can just npm run dev, and then simple browser show http://localhost 5173. Yeah, cool. You're welcome, Jason. One second. The reason it's showing the wrong project is because I'm already running the Vite server in this window. But yeah, it lets you spin up projects really nicely. The people who make React even recommend that you use Vite for spinning up projects instead of like create React app. Although that might have changed in the past year. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Cool. Let's do a last call for questions, because it is we are now 20 minutes over, so okay. No problem. No problem. Cool. In that case, oh yeah, if you have a lot of projects and you want to, oh wait, no, that was sorry. I resized my window and it scrolled the chat all the way to the top. Let's see. Yeah, awesome. Well, in that case, thank you all for coming, and I hope you had fun. You're welcome.